Billy. What's your last name, Billy?
Billy Vaughn.
Billy Vaughn. All right, great. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the garden? Just what's going on here?
Yeah, we started several years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and we started actually over across the street. We started on, we called that the Stone Garden, and that was so we could kind of get recognition. We want folks to see it, we wanted to get them an idea, we wanted to get some people involved. We started with 5 families. There was a Latino family, an African, a family from Sudan, refugee family, white family, African American family, and then the people that live in the house right there on the plot. And it was really to build community, but also to make a witness about locally grown food and how important that was, and also to make a witness about how the way we do food in this country, transporting it across the country, also just ends up causing international policy issues around oil and involvement in other countries, and that's not a particularly healthy thing right now. So all of that is what got us started. The neat thing is that was our first plot, and as time has evolved, we got this other plot, which goes with these apartments right here, and the guy could never keep up this lot. And we said, we'll keep up the lot if you'll let us plant on it. And he said, sure, I don't have to pay for it, and it'll look better. And so we made a deal with him to keep up this plot and also mow his lawn and the front part of these lawns. And in the midst of that, this was our second plot. And then we got a third one down at the Caritas house. And then we got a fourth one, a 1/4-acre lot, where we've got these perennials. We have a fig orchard, blueberries, blackberries, and asparagus. And so over time, the neat thing has been not only the expansion of what we're planting and the plots and the variety of things that we're able to plant, but it's also been the community that's gotten involved, the different people over the last few years, the people you meet. Sometimes it's not necessarily the people you meet working, it's while you're working and they're going by and they stop and get curious, and so you build relationships. Kids involvement, they come and work and get a voucher at the Caritas Village. So through all of that, it's just been an enormous blessing, and the food's awfully good.
And has gardening always been a passion of yours, Billy?
No. Far from it. The interesting thing is that when Carl Awesome came along and talked about doing this, he wanted a plot in the neighborhood, wanted us to start something. I said, good, Carl, no problem, let's do it. I got an idea about a place for us to do it. And I said, but just beware, I've got way too much to do in my work and in the community and the church, family, and I really won't have much time to give to you, but I can help you build some relationships and get to know some folks. And that was how I thought it was going to play out. But then I got out here and started helping, and the next thing I knew, I was hooked. I'm now the person besides Carl that's out here the most and looks out after the plots, and absolutely love every part of it. Believe it or not, whether it's the weeding or the watering, the planting, whatever we need to do, to the mulching, we've got the compost bins on each of our plots and keeping up the compost, and we started some worm gardens, and now we've started some beekeeping in one of the back lots, and all of that has just become such a pleasure that I hate to miss it now.
Great. And how do you think the community has changed since the garden was founded?
Well, that's a tough one. The community, we've had a lot of different folks over these 4 years be involved in and out. The Lopez family across the street were part of the families that started it, but then when Miss Lopez hurt her back and couldn't do it, they sort of backed out, and so we've had not as much Latino participation. It's been in and out. A couple of the young guys come from time to time and they're involved in it. it builds relationships. The one thing I would say that we haven't yet gotten to where we want is we're not spawning new plots in the homes and in areas, and we'd love to see that happen. But we figure that takes time.
Yeah.
And but we've had lots of families involved. I mean, we've got right now, a couple of families consistently that are new from the neighborhood that have gotten involved, and you build relationships. One of them, Lisa and Jessica. Jessica's a little girl, and she's just delighted to be involved, and it connects her with adults in a way that she loves. She also will tell friends, and they'll show up from time to time, and then she feels like she's the one that did it. Her mother, Lisa, it gives her connections. She moved into the neighborhood just a couple of years ago, and it helps her build some new relationships and friendships. And so there's a lot of that goes on, and it's sort of in and out, and it ebbs and flows, but it's also something that is a good thing for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I guess I'd also say, right at the corner, this other corner where the flowers are. Now, originally we planted some trees there and put a sign there, and in the first year we did that, the sign kept getting taken away or torn down, and even some things that we planted got uprooted and taken. We had a little thing around that garden that was solar lights, and we thought that was really neat, but then they started taking all the batteries out of the lights. That was in the first year. Well, now by this time the gardens have become so much a part of the neighborhood that people in the neighborhood watch out after it in a way that things don't get taken. It just works out really well.
That's great. And what's the extent of the garden's connection to Caritas Village?
Well, Caritas, of course, Caritas Village sprang from first the Caritas House, which is a house of hospitality in the neighborhood. One of our plots is there, and one of the things that we do, we've got a deal with the Caritas Village where when some, especially kids, but also sometimes adults, will give some time on Saturdays or on Monday evenings working in the garden, especially right now when it's mostly weeding and watering and preparing and so forth, then we'll give them a voucher to go to the Caritas Village and get a meal. What happens is we get the produce from all of this. Some of the produce people take home with them, but we always have a lot extra, and we send a lot of that down to the village so that they get fresh produce from locally grown food right here in the neighborhood, and it's so much better than what you can buy in the store. So they get that, and what we get are, it also helps build relationships here in the gardens, but also there at the Caritas Village. So it's their mission is also about community building. So it all sort of folds into one thing folds into another.
Well, just a couple more here. Do you have a favorite memory from the garden?
Yes, it was a couple of years ago. We had this plot right here, about half of this, planted in sweet potatoes. And when it came time to harvest the sweet potatoes, all of these kids, especially refugee kids, young people, just came in here. They were so excited about the sort of digging for the sweet potatoes. It was like an Easter egg hunt. And it was like, who can get the most? Who can get the biggest sweet potato? Who can get the most interesting looking sweet potato? We harvested about 500 sweet potatoes that year, but the best part of it was just their excitement, and actually that was one of the times that the kids were more excited about taking home the sweet potatoes, because apparently in the country that they came from, several of them came from, it was really a delicacy, and so they didn't want the vouchers then. They wanted to take the sweet potatoes home. They'd say, "Mama wants this," and so it would be that was a wonderful summer and a great experience, and it's part of the reason we planted so many sweet potatoes this year.
And do you have a favorite crop that grows in the garden, Billy?
Well, I have a few favorites. Of course, I do love the sweet potatoes. Down at our other plot, we've got these blackberries that are about this big and juicy and wonderful, and we've had some great blackberry cobblers. I certainly like that. And the tomatoes. Last year, for the first time, we had the little orange tomatoes, the small orange tomatoes, and those were as sweet as any I have ever tasted. And so it was really neat beginning to understand the different kind of tomatoes and realizing that the best tasting ones aren't the great big red ones that you can get in the store, but sometimes the smaller ones, different color.
Great, thank you, Billy.
Thank you.